Good evening, everybody. My name is Geetha Raj. Chennai has been my home for 12 years now. I am from Kerala and I head an advertising agency in Chennai. I was pleasantly surprised when Shubha called me and asked me to speak today. Surprised because what have I achieved that I deserve to share the stage with entrepreneurs, with humanitarians, with young achievers, with businessmen, with people who create jobs, people who create wealth for others. I'm an ordinary person. Why would anybody want to listen to me? What do I have to offer? But that's the thing about us women, no? We never take credit. We have a problem taking compliments. It's like you tell your mother, Amma, you made good avial today. And she'll be like, Ayyo, adu inniki nalla varala actually. It's not come out well today. Yeah? You have a beautiful friend, you tell her, you look beautiful. And she'll be like, this is an old dress. Somebody scores good marks. You try telling them, good job. And they'll be like, Adi, I've been going for this new tuition. We have a problem taking compliments. We want to attribute it to something else, somebody else. Try that with a man. Tell him he looks handsome. He'd be like, I know it. Obviously, I was born handsome. You tell him that, hey, good job with that presentation. Better be good. I worked whole night on it.
I'm used to it.
I'm used to it. Tell him, hey, lovely car. Yeah, I worked hard for it.
And you tell the price also.
Exactly. I've been wanting to buy it for so many years. I worked hard for it. I've earned it. Try it with a woman. Try it with a woman. Give her a compliment. She'll immediately become shy and she'll be like, no, please don't. I don't deserve this. We are taught not to take credit. We are trained not to let it get into our heads. We are told, you are a woman. Be modest. The other day I was Googling, because Shubha just dropped this bomb on me and she was like, you have to go and speak. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? So I was Googling. I was looking at Indra Nui's, I just searched key that in, Indra Nui's. And then immediately Google asks me, Indra Nui's husband? Indra Nui's daughters? Indra Nui's caste.
Wow.
You can try it. Please do it right away. Whenever I attend a social event and I go and tell them, hey, I'm Geetha, I head an advertising agency, they'll be like, that's good, what does your husband do? There's nothing wrong about it. My husband is my strongest supporter. I celebrate him. We as women, we celebrate others' victories more easily, don't we? Ours, not so much. We don't celebrate our victories. We underplay our roles as women, as wives, as daughters, as sisters, as lovers, as teammates. We are glad to be known as so-and-so's wife, so-and-so's daughter, so-and-so's sister, so-and-so, oh, not so much. Why are we so comfortable playing the second fiddle? Why do I not feel that I have been invited here today because I worked hard for it? I deserve to be here. The stage is mine. Why do I not own it? Let us women start making that choice that, hey, I deserve it. My victory is mine. Right? That is a choice that we need to learn. That is something that we need to teach our daughters, our sons, all of us. When will we stop exactly what you were talking about? When will we stop looking outside for social validation? We want somebody else to tell us that we look beautiful, that we are good. We don't feel it ourselves, no? As women, it is high time that we make that choice and we claim what is ours. Coming to choices, I've been working in advertising for almost a decade now. I was with banking earlier in Kerala. If my Mallu accent didn't give it away already, I am from Kerala. I was a business development officer. I was selling home loans. So, yes, I came from a reputed B school. I got a placement, campus placement. I was working with a leading bank in Cochin. I replaced people who had 25 years of experience when I was all of 25. I walk in proud. I'm trying to sell home loans to people who don't want it. And I'm trying to recollect these loans from people on whom I had trusted. Right? So you're calling these people and asking, hey, you've not paid up your EMI. So they'll be like, I'm sorry, madam, I lost my job. I lost my husband. My child is chronically ill. I've not paid their fees. And all that MBA goes away. You start feeling bad. I was miserable as a salesperson. I was very successful as an empath. Right? That's the day I realized that I was a failure at my job. Hey, but I have a B school MBA with me. How can I be a failure? We're not allowed to fail. We're not allowed to accept that we're failures. When I started having nightmares about my job, one day morning I was going to work. My mother comes to me. She hands over this sheet of paper to me and she says, this is your resignation letter. You're not coming back home today without putting in your papers. And I was like, what kind of a mother are you? You're setting me up for failure. It is okay to fail. We should teach our children that it is okay to fail. It was my first job. I hated it. It was a bank job. Nobody quit a bank job. Everybody retired from it with the ESOPs and stuff. I'm so glad that my mother made me quit that job that day. I was 25. I took a train. I came to Chennai. I didn't know anybody here. I chose advertising. And I'm so glad I did. It was a choice which was thrust on me, and I'm so happy I did that. When you fail, you know where your strength is, where your weakness is. I don't believe in this thing that says, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. You can't do everything. Maybe you can do it, but you'll not excel at it. Do what you like to do. I'm going to go back a little in time. On 2nd of August 1990, Saddam Hussein's army marched into the neighboring state, a tiny state, Kuwait. Overnight, militants and the military had occupied Kuwait. They set their oil wells on fire. It is said that the oil they burnt was enough to power the world for 3 days. Shops were closed, banks were closed, airport was closed, the runway was bombed. People were fleeing the country by cars, by buses, by foot. There was no money, there was no landline, there was no telephone line, no TV, no radio. No way to let people know that you were alive. One thing functioned: hospitals. Hospitals were open 24/7. You were not expected to report to work. But there was this particular woman I knew. This lady, she was a nurse. She made it a point to wear her nurse's cap and put her in uniform, and she made it a point to take whatever commute was available and report to work. She survived the massive shellings, the shoots, and she reported to work. Her husband begged her not to go. Her children begged her not to go. She said no. There's something called the nurse's oath. There was somebody called Florence Nightingale, and she said, when I decided to become a nurse, I promised to save lives. And the moment I wear this uniform, I am no longer a mother. I'm no longer a wife. I'm a nurse. I will not give up on my job, on my profession, on my oath at times of difficulty. That lady happened to be my mother.
Whoa.
So we were stuck in war-infested Kuwait for 45 days. One day my father comes home very happy. He said, the papers have been cleared, Indian embassy is taking us, a bus has been arranged. So you have to travel through Iraq and go to Amman, which is the capital of Jordan. And you have to travel by bus, and there are refugee camps set up. So a journey which usually took you 3 hours by flight will take you 10 days. So I remember we arrived at one of the camps in Amman. We are Indians. We always have food. Like you said, for the Chennai floods, right? Everybody was feeding everybody. We were carrying a stove, we had a gas cylinder. We didn't have to go and stand in the queue for food. But in the tents, I remember the UN trucks, they were loaded with food, and they used to come in and go out, and there would be this army man like you throwing food at people, packets of juice and apple and stuff like that. So we were watching it, and we are proud Indians, no? You will not go and stand in a queue and ask somebody to feed you. My mother thought otherwise. She said, come, go stand in the queue. You need to know what it feels like to depend on a random stranger to feed your meal one day. And she made us stand in that queue. I managed to grab an apple. I'm so thankful that she did that, because it makes you value things that you take for granted. So we lost everything. Coming to that, what I want to say is, we as women, we have it's innate, right? We try to guard, we try to insulate our dear ones from pain. We think we have superpowers, right? We are super women. We don't want our family to go through that pain. I'm saying let them face it. Let your children face problems. Only if they face that problem will they come up with solutions. Do not insulate your child. Do not insulate your husband, your parents, your sister, your siblings. Let them face it. You are not superwoman. To shield everybody from harm, from hurt. We lost everything in the Gulf War. We came back to India as refugees. We had nothing to fall back on. And it was a time when we were selling off everything we had, our gold, our houses, right? My mother did not have a job. I remember our shop had stopped supplying groceries to us because we hadn't paid them. Iraq was compensating Kuwait and the refugees for all the damages that they had done. UN had intervened, and Iraq was paying back compensation. So we were expecting this envelope to reach us one day saying, okay, here's your compensation. And we were expecting to pay back our loans and get back our house. And one day that envelope arrived. We grabbed it, we ran to my mother, we said, hey, it's come. And we opened it. And the claim was rejected. And our faces fell. The three of us, we hugged each other, we started crying. And my mother sat there in the corner, she was smiling. We thought she had lost it. So we were like, why on earth would you be smiling now? She said, if I got this money, it would feed 3 of my children. If Iraq does not pay this, it would feed 100 Iraqi kids. What is better? She is a very resilient woman. She chooses to see positivity even in the most pressing situations. My mother chose to be positive. I remember her sending us off to college. One day when I was 16, I was just going to college and she called me. She said, come here. She was very emotional. She hugged me and she said, there will be a lot of things to sway you. There will be boys. No matter what happens, if you fall for someone, even if you get pregnant, please come back to me. How many mothers say that to their daughters these days? Do not bring shame to the family. அப்படியே போயிடு. If mothers hugged their daughters and said, no matter what, I am here for you. Women, as women, we should learn to empower women. Let's empower our daughters, our children. I have one more small story and then I'll go. My mother survived a failed marriage. Three children to fend for, no job. We were selling off everything that we had. She was putting us through college. My relatives were like, why are you putting your 2 daughters through college? Marry them off. We sold our last house to pay my college fee. We sat down with her and we said, what are you doing, Mama? We don't have anything else to fall back on. This is our last investment. We've sold our final house. We don't have a place to go. What do you see in the future? She said, no, I have investment. My children, your degrees. You're not going to be studying for the rest of your lives. You will land that job. You will start earning. You can always buy that house. And yes, we completed our graduation. We landed that job. We survived. My mother made the choice not to hold on to a house, but to educate her girl children. My mother is my greatest inspiration. I'm thankful to one particular choice that she made. In August 1981, she learned she was pregnant. My father was pushing her to drop the 3rd child. We don't need another mouth to feed. She said, no, I'm having that child. Thank you, Mother, for not aborting me. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you so much.